I could outrun a centaur.
So, what's up with that vague title? Well, let me explain. I've been an on and off Guild Wars 2 player since launch, and throughout that time, it was natural for me to try to pull friends into the game. After all, it is an MMO. However, like me, they too would stop playing for lengths at a time, or a lot of them just couldn't really get into it. As a long-time MMO player, it got me thinking. Guild Wars 2 is a great game for a multitude of reasons. One of its strengths is that ArenaNet looks at other games and improves on existing ideas, so nothing really negative particularly stands out. If there was something that bad, they would have learnt about it already. On paper, it should be really popular. Why then does it seem to have a deal breaker for so many players? I realized that making Guild Wars 2 different to all the other games out there also makes it weird. My goal is to explain why weird isn't necessarily a bad thing, and I'm going to do that by attacking some misconceptions and exploring some ideas that non-players or new players probably haven't thought about. For example, my friends and I who quit near the start of Guild Wars 2 and then rejoined a lot later, realized that it was probably the combat that initially put us off. It was a very subtle thing, but once you come back and give it a second try, you really start to notice the difference. I feel like a lot of people don't give the game a proper try before calling it quits. I guess I want to show you how to break through that wall and properly enjoy Guild Wars 2. I know that a good game shouldn't have to tell you how to have fun, but when a game is this different, I think it may be warranted. I'm sure everyone has played that one game, probably when they were a kid, that became a lot more fun once a friend told you how it should really be played. I want to be that friend who tells you why Charmander isn't good against the first gym. I want to be that friend that tells you how in Space Invaders,
instead of shooting where I was, you should have shot at where I was going to be.
Anyway, I've been meaning to get these thoughts out for a while, but I guess I didn't really see a point. Honestly, I'd rather spend my free time just playing the game, and I can convince my friends to play in person. However, thanks to Wooden Potatoes' recent competition, my ideas can now contribute to a sea of content, which will hopefully have a lot of impact on the public's perception of Guild Wars 2. This is something I truly believe in, because, like I said, ArenaNet doesn't get the recognition it deserves for such a fantastic game. If there was ever a time to get these videos out, it would be now, when a lot of people are going to be trying out the game because of the expansion hype. It'd be a shame if people didn't give the game a proper try, and were put off by silly things that only take a few minutes to get over. By the way, if you don't know which competition I'm talking about, you should check out the link in the description below. On that page, you can see lots of entries to this competition, and hopefully they'll do a great job of convincing you to play. Speaking of Wooden Potatoes, I might try to keep this video short and go into more detail in the next few videos. I'll use this video to get to the upshot. In my opinion, the main issue is that a lot of games hyper-focus on the one thing that pulls players in from minute one. I've played games where the hook is the exciting story, or the difficulty of the dungeons, or the explosive combat, and starting out is a real dopamine rush. These games set a precedent that Guild Wars 2 doesn't deliver on, and it makes the player feel lost. However, if I think about why I eventually stopped playing those games, it's because these same hooks became detrimental to the game in the long run. These hooks are more to get you playing in the short term, but they're only fun for a little bit until you get tired of it. If you've ascended to godhood in chapter 1, where does the story go from there? If you're mowing down 30 monsters per second at the start, what are you going to be doing at the end? 200 monsters per second? Some games just overload your senses with giant numbers all over your screen, with the goal of making you feel like you've accomplished something. If these games are McDonald's quarter pounders, then Guild Wars 2 is the steak and salad. I believe ArenaNet's philosophy with Guild Wars 2 was to make a great game and then to strip away these negative facets, leaving a game that is healthy in the long run. I like to call Guild Wars 2 the MMO for MMO players. Any seasoned MMO player will have their gripes about games that burnt them out. Guild Wars 2 recognizes those issues and fixes them. Almost. I'm still waiting for them to get rid of bags and bags and bags. However, I think they're working on it in Path of Fire, which is something I'm definitely looking forward to. Anyway, I think I'll cut the video off here. In the next video, I'll be talking about the first few weird things you'll notice when you start Guild Wars 2. See you next time.
Those drakes are eating all the fish!